Was my audio off this whole time? No way. Oh, man. Okay, well, I'm gonna try. I'll redo the intro because my goodness, what a mess. Ay, ay, ay. Okay, sorry about that. I didn't realize the mic was off. So, recap from the beginning since that audio didn't work. In this episode, we're talking about the former New Zealand Prime Minister, Jacinda Ardern. She thinks that free speech is a weapon that needs to be controlled. The Qantas debacle somehow gets even worse, and it involves every current judge. The Australian government also announced a COVID inquiry that essentially exempts themselves. And we have a vaccine injury story, as well as lots of memes today. Okay, let me get the clips up. So I'm not going to redo the music intro, because there's no point. Okay. Ugh, what a mess. I am so disorganized today. I apologize. Okay, so we've got the not so lovely Jacinda Ardern here. So she gave a speech about free speech. Well, the clip is about free speech. And she says some stuff in there that I thought was a little interesting.
This week we launched an initiative alongside companies and non-profits to help improve research and understanding of how a person's online experiences are curated by automated processes. This will also be important in understanding more about mis- and disinformation online, a challenge that we must, as leaders, address. Sadly, I think it's easy to dismiss this problem as one in the margins. I can certainly understand the desire to leave it to someone else. As leaders, we're rightly concerned that even the most light-touch approaches to disinformation could be misinterpreted as being hostile to the values of free speech that we value so highly. But while I cannot tell you today what the answer is to this challenge, I can say with complete certainty that we cannot ignore it. To do so poses an equal threat to the norms we all value. After all, how do you successfully end a war if people are led to believe the reason for its existence is not only legal but noble? How do you tackle climate change if people do not believe it exists? How do you ensure the human rights of others are upheld when they are subjected to hateful and dangerous rhetoric and ideology? The weapons may be different, but the goals of those who perpetuate them is often the same: to cause chaos and reduce the ability of others to defend themselves, to disband communities, to collapse the collective strength of countries who work together. But we have an opportunity here to ensure that these particular weapons of war do not become an established part of warfare. In these times, I'm acutely aware of how easy it is to feel disheartened. We are facing many battles on many fronts, but there is cause for optimism, because for every new weapon we face, there is a new tool to overcome it. For every attempt to push the world into chaos is a collective conviction to bring us back to order. We have the means. We just need the collective will.
So, yeah, that was interesting, right? To hear somebody who is a global leader or was a global leader talk about free speech in that manner. It's a little bit concerning. I think I don't like Jacinda Ardern, especially the stuff she did the last couple of years to the Kiwis, to the New Zealanders. I think that was real messed up. She was super tyrannical, and the government there was super tyrannical. I had a friend who actually lived there at the time, so it was really crazy. But I found this old clip of Jacinda that I thought was hilarious. 'Cause, I don't know, man. You tell me. I'm pretty sure she's on some kind of drug. But, yeah, you tell me. That's totally normal behavior, yeah? goodness. What a nightmare. So, does she or doesn't she, do a little with Hunter Biden maybe? I don't know. Whose whose Coke is it? And then I remember this um really this was during the lockdowns and mandates where the New Zealand government said that they were the single source of truth because they were trying to fight misinformation and disinformation. So I've got this clip here.
We'll share with you the most up-to-date information daily. You can trust us as a source of that information. You can also trust the Director General of Health and the Ministry of Health. For that information, do feel free to visit at any time to clarify any rumour you may hear, covid19.govt.nz. Otherwise, dismiss anything else. We will continue to be your single source of truth. We will provide information frequently.
Oh my
we will share
goodness.
everything we can, everything else you see, a grain of salt. And so I really ask people to focus
The
on
most
that.
egregious example of that appears to be this text which originated in Malaysia and has become a viral hoax in Australia and in New Zealand. How irresponsible is it the people that are sharing that news of a lockdown imminent
So
in New Zealand?
irresponsible.
And look, that's the kind of thing that adds to the anxiety that people feel. So I continue to share the message. New Zealanders must prepare, but do not panic. Prepare. And when you see those messages, remember that unless you hear it from us, it is not the truth. And I really ask people, just visit covid19.govt.nz. It has all of the up-to-date information, and we will continue to provide everything you need to know.
Okay, Satan. Yeah, so basically she said, if it doesn't come from us, it's not the truth. Dismiss everything else you hear. Take everything with a grain of salt, except for what we say. Of course, we're going to tell you the truth. I mean, if you look at her face, does she look like an honest, normal person who isn't a psychopath? I don't know, man. Her eyes and her whole, sullen cheeks and everything, it was a little bit like, yeah, that's not a person, that's a demon. The demon took over. Yes, so I think that clip is very telling about her character and the government that was backing her up. Uh, Very much like 1984, the Ministry of Truth, that kind of stuff. Yeah, real nuts. Okay, so I thought that was funny. I really loved the oh man, I'm a Coke sniffer now. I really love that clip. It's so funny. Okay. So let's get into the Qantas situation. So last time we talked about how Qantas was getting in trouble with the ACCC, the Consumer Watchdog of Australia, because they were selling tickets, sorry, for flights that were already cancelled, and not telling people until very last minute. So I saw this article. This came out September 12th, but I only heard about it recently. So the High Court apparently revealed that every current judge is a member of Qantas's most exclusive club in Australia. So this was during the High Court is revealing this because Qantas is currently in a lawsuit or something with a workers union for firing 1,700 workers during the scamdemic. So here it talks about how there's a very exclusive club called the Chairman's Lounge in Qantas, and it's invitation only. Its members have free champagne, steak dinners, and cocktails on demand. So yeah, here they talk about the battle between the Qantas and Transport Workers Union, where they sacked 1,700 ground staff at the height of the pandemic. And so they describe this club as the most exclusive club. It's part of Qantas's soft power diplomacy with political leaders, judges, current and former prime ministers, and senior public servants invited to enter. So basically, if you're higher up in the government, you get an invitation. I think when Dan Andrews was in some heat in the news, I'm pretty sure, but you might want to double check that his son was part of the chairman's lounge as well, and he's not a politician, so it was super dodge. Okay, so here it says that it is believed some federal court judges are also members. So that's, yeah, that's just regular judges and federal judges here. Okay, so a spokesperson said from the High Court said that all parties involved were aware and that there was no objection raised. Okay. Each of the justices is a member of the chairman's lounge, the spokesperson said. Membership is declared on the justices' registers of gifts. So in Australia, they're actually required to declare any gifts over $200. So a legal source described the membership of the Qantas Club by multiple members of the judiciary as a ticking time bomb that should be publicly declared. Another senior lawyer speculated that it didn't, it wasn't raised as an issue because the membership of the club by judges was considered natural, like oxygen. A former Supreme Court Judge, Anthony Wheely, KC, said judges should always declare such membership and can't just shove it under the carpet. He says, I personally think it should be declared if you're in a case involving Qantas and you're the recipient of benefits, such as other exclusive membership offered by Qantas. Yeah, so he he thinks that judges should declare and have it in open, but that the judges wouldn't necessarily be asked to disqualify themselves. But it's kind of like he compared it to owning shares in a company. You can't just shove that kind of stuff under the carpet because it would be a conflict of interest, right? And you need to be transparent. So they talk about the food on offer in the chairman's lounge for free for judges and politicians and invited CEOs. Includes free steak dinner, gin and tonic, and salt and pepper squid. And then these are, I think, some of the pictures of the lounge. Yeah, and apparently if you this is a very Australian way of describing this, but this regulator said, quote, part of the wankiness, as well as the secret doors, is the fact that you could ask for absolutely anything, even if it's not on the menu, and it will be cooked pretty quickly just for you. Wankiness means like, it's like an Aussie for being like a stuck up or a snob. Like if someone calls you a wanker, you're kind of like up yourself. Um, I just thought that description was hilarious. So sometimes this membership, the membership is strictly confidential. So the boss, the former boss, Alan Joyce, the guy who was getting a lot of trouble and he stepped down. He said sometimes it includes travelers' flights upgrades, like being upgraded to business class without having to pay for it with frequent flyer points. Yeah, but apparently other members have been offered upgrades in the past. So the membership is for a period of 2 years and it's renewed at Qantas's discretion. So you don't charge any fees or anything for being part of that club. Yeah, so I that's pretty nuts that the government's doing that. And there's another related article where we talked about this last time, where Qantas had a $2.5 billion profit for, I think it was the 2023 financial year. So during the scandemic, they received government assistance, so taxpayer money. So, normal, regular citizens, that is you paid for Qantas to be propped up by the government. They gave them 2.4, 2.5, no, sorry, $2.7 billion of government assistance during the scamdemic. But that was also at the same time they sacked 1,700 ground staff at the height of the pandemic. So the Transport Workers Union is in a court battle with them, because yeah, they're getting a lot of heat for what they did. I think other articles mentioned something about outsourcing the work, but I'm not sure. It didn't really describe it here in this article. So they said that Qantas reported that the first half of the 2022 to 2023 financial year, domestic travel had returned to 104% of pre-COVID levels. And it's currently, international travel is currently above 80% and is expected to match pre-pandemic rates by March 2024. So the trajectory is that it's going to be making even more money. Yeah, so they've been having like staff shortages and operational delays and a lot of like flight cancellations. And they had the excuse of, oh, it's the pandemic, blah, blah, blah. But they also fired a bunch of people during that time. So, and then took government money. So that's pretty dodge. I think like, oop, sorry. Didn't mean to switch out of that. I think that, yeah, like, for example, here, domestic revenue intakes currently sitting at 118% of levels since before the COVID pandemic, while international profits are at 123%. So they're making a lot of money. And, you know, it was at the expense of regular people. And then they fired regular people, which is crazy. So the governments and Qantas are in bed with each other, basically. And the more that these cases reveal, the more, you know, it gets published, I think the more pissed the public is going to be, because this is not a free market. The government's clearly propping up this company, and it's having a monopoly, like what they did with Emirates, lobbying, you know, the government against Emirates. Super dodge. Okay, so let's have a bit of a meme break, have a bit of a laugh. Oh man, I'm so frazzled right now. All right, let's have a laugh. So I've got some memes that I like. So this one, the first one here, I call it, this is for the white people out there. This is how you season your food after you bleach it, of course.
Yes, I'm a good dog, I'm a good dog, I'm a good dog. I'm a good dog, I'm a good dog, I'm a good dog, I'm a good dog.
He's been bleached. Gotta season that meal. Mmm, delicious. Okay, and then the next one we've got, I called it Sean Strickland, that UFC fighter that we shown clips of. He's so funny. He had an interview where he's asking to learn Chinese. It's so good.
Let's
do it.
Oh,
Would you like to learn some Chinese?
Let's do it.
Ni hao.
What was that? Wait, what am I saying? What am I saying?
Hello.
Meow. You should already start. How do I say? Work harder, child. So when I start my clothing company and I open up a couple sweatshops, how do I get to the meat and potatoes of work harder? No food for you till you finish.
Would you like to learn some Chinese?
Let's do it.
oh,
Ni hao.
it's so
What was that?
funny.
Wait, what am I saying?
Work harder,
What am I
child.
saying?
Hello.
Meow.
So faster. Sean Strickland is so goofy. I love his interviews. This was like part of a longer montage on YouTube. You can find it. It's like Sean Strickland best interviews, or like I can't remember the exact title, but it was something like that. So funny. All right. So let me just find the next one. The next meme is this streamer got compared to a very specific Lego piece.
You look like Lego piece 2550C01. What does that mean? Brown monkey animal with banana mint. What? Okay, I don't even have words for that. What the fuck? How the fuck? Who came up with this? Who woke up and was like, yo, I'm gonna figure out what Lego piece the monkey is so I can go and call my favorite black streamer that? You look like Lego piece 2550C01.
Oh my goodness. That was so good. I didn't even know that was a Lego piece. So funny. I love it. I love it. All right. So, we're gonna look at the next story. I'm still laughing. That was hilarious. The person who did that woke up and chose violence. This guy. Okay. So the next piece is about Australia announced that they're having a COVID inquiry. The Australian government is going to investigate itself, and it finds it did nothing wrong. So our Prime Minister Anthony Albanese announced that there would be a COVID inquiry to consider Australia's responses to the pandemic. And it excludes actions taken unilaterally by state and territory governments. Okay. So they said that there's going to be a 1-year inquiry headed by epidemiologist Professor Catherine Bennett, health economist Dr. Angela Jackson, and former Director General of the New South Wales Health Department, Robin Kruk. So a lot of people criticize that as a complete waste of time, because if the states can't be compelled to give evidence, it would be absurd. What's the point? What's the point? It's a toothless investigation. But what do you expect when the government investigates itself, right? So here, this article from The Guardian talks about how the proposed scope includes the role of the Commonwealth, responsibilities of state and territory governments, and national governance mechanisms, including the national cabinet. So during the lockdowns and stuff, there was a national cabinet where different state premiers, their leaders, met to discuss how they wanted to do lockdowns and whatnot, and what methods they wanted to do. So potential topics for the inquiry include vaccine supply, broader health supports for people affected by COVID-19 and or lockdowns, financial support for individuals, industry and businesses, community supports, international policies to support Australians at home and abroad, mechanisms to better target future responses to the needs of particular populations, including First Nations Australians. But the scope excludes actions taken unilaterally by state and territory governments, which would exclude state border closures and could exclude the length and severity of lockdown restrictions and international programs and activities assisting foreign countries. So someone asked if the length of the lockdowns will be considered, and Albanese told the reporters the 3 inquiry heads can look at whatever they like, quote. That is the point of an independent inquiry, he says. He said he wanted a process of learning from the pandemic that is constructive rather than destructive. So basically, they don't want criticism. They want to make sure this is forward focused and consider all of the Commonwealth responses to the pandemic. Forward focus. Let's shove things under the carpet, yeah? What's the point of not, talking about the length and severity of the lockdowns? That's not an investigation. Dan Andrews locked down Victoria for the longest time. They had one of the worst lockdowns in the world. And they kept extending it after extension. People were going crazy because they've been locked up for months on end, and it was really inhumane. So the reporters asked if participation will be compulsory, including state leaders. And Albanese said, I should imagine that everyone will want to participate in this. So that implies that that's voluntary, that they won't be compelled to show up. So the final report will be delivered on the 30th of September. And Albanese said a shorter inquiry was favored because, quote, a lot of the work has already been done. There have been 20 different inquiries. So during his election, Albanese said that he would do a COVID inquiry. I don't know why anyone believed him, because the government, again, investigating itself after being bought out, they're not going to do that. It would go against their interests. So the opposition leader, Peter Dutton, said that Australians would be stunned to learn that premiers who were responsible for lockdowns were excluded from the inquiry. He labeled it as a protection racket for Dan Andrews and Anastasia Palaszczuk, so the Victorian Premier and the Queensland Premier. But they weren't the only ones locked down. Mark McGowan was super tyrannical. Our New South Wales person, Gladys, and Dominic, they were pretty tyrannical. Like, they were pretty similar, even though New South Wales was a liberal state before the previous election. Even though they were liberal, the opposition, they were really similar. They might not have locked down as extreme, for example, as Victoria. Victoria was the worst one, but they were essentially pushing for the same thing. They justified what they did. So yeah, it was a cop-out. Massive, massive cop-out. So this article, the Shadow Health Minister said it was a cop-out because it excluded the exclusion of the states and territories. And they said many of the decisions that were made during the pandemic by the states and territories are the ones that probably impacted Australians the most, she said. Whether that be the lockdowns, border closures, mandates, and the like, which all had very significant impact on Australians. So, yeah, it's super dodge, and some of the someone here said they wanted to examine improvements to the national medical stockpile, supplies of vaccines, and personal protective equipment. And it's important to have that forward-focused planning work. So what did we learn? Can we avoid not having enough vaccines when we need them? Yeah, so I think it's nuts. They're trying to suggest they're just going to investigate the forward planning aspect and say oh, we need more vaccines. The Australian government had an excess of vaccines. If you look back, there was lots of news articles saying how much they spent on the vaccines and how much excess that wasn't used. Sorry, my camera's just getting out of focus. Yeah, but I mean, is anyone surprised by that? So I've got the government website here. I found it through the Guardian article. There were some links and I had to click through. So this is the Commonwealth Government COVID-19 response inquiry terms of reference. So it talks about their scope and what lessons they learned to improve Australia's preparedness for future pandemics. Sorry, I'll just zoom in. It's quite small text. So scope is that they want to recommend and improve response measures. They say they will adopt a whole of government view in recognition of the wide-ranging impacts of COVID-19. So they specify things like here, responsibility of, responsibility of state and territory governments, national governments mechanisms, and advisory bodies supporting responses to COVID-19, key health response measures like vaccinations and treatments, quarantine facilities, public health messaging, broader supports for people impacted by COVID-19 and or lockdowns, for example, mental health and suicide prevention supports, international policies like international border closures, vaccine supply, support for industry and businesses, financial support for individuals, so COVID stimulus checks, for example, community supports, mechanisms to better target future responses. And then here you go. The following areas are not in scope for the inquiry. Actions taken unilaterally by state and territory governments, international programs and activities assisting foreign countries. So there you go. They've excluded themselves, basically. Nuts. So Australia's government's a clown world. Big time clown world. Okay, so speaking of vaccinations, this is why I stream on Odyssey and not YouTube, because we would have been demonetized very early. So I've got a story, vaccine injury story from Jab Injuries Australia. We try to watch most of it, but it's quite long, so it might not be able to get to the ending, and because it's an Instagram reel, it won't let me scroll through, and it's hard to pause as well. So this is Darius's story from Jab Injuries Australia. Ooh. Sorry, give me a sec.
I was dumbfounded. First, I was dumbfounded because I was fairly healthy several months before that. A month before that. Fairly healthy, you know what I mean? He told me my height is like a 99-year-old with heart issues. Right now, as it sits, 19 days after my second shot. It took about maybe 6 months, 7 months to sink in. My name is Darius Poucher. I am 42 years of age. I am full-time employed. I do abseiling. I work off ropes. We do repaints, cement rendering, just fixing buildings. Yeah, so I migrated to Australia in 1992.
Ooh, it's lagging quite a lot.
It was after we had independence
it's probably my net.
with Russia.
Sorry, guys.
I went to school here. Also went to school there, but mainly did my year 10 here. I did my year 11 here, and I thought to myself, school is not for me, and I made a choice, stay in school, do something maybe with computers or hands-on. So I decided to basically go in construction. So first I did my carpentry apprenticeship in 97. Several years later, I found out that cement rendering was more money. So I started doing cement rendering, and I had my business for 5-6 years. And then I decided to try something else and do rope access, because I was just getting tired of doing the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, so this guy's
So yeah, so now
gotta be in
I've
pretty
been
good
doing
shape.
rope access since beginning of 2021. I've never had any health issues since I was a kid. I've had a flu when I was younger, temperature. Back in Lithuania, it's very cold there, so temperature is very common. I had a car accident in 2018, I think it was. I broke my back in 5 places. Liverpool Hospital thought I might have internal bleedings because I rolled my car, engine first and so forth, landed on the roof. And so they gave me a dye inside my body in 2018 to check for any internal bleedings, for any ruptures of any arteries, veins, anything like that. Everything came back clear. In New South Wales, there was a mandate for everyone to cease working in construction and to get 1 and 2nd shot by certain dates to continue working. So me and my boss, I'm not anti-vax. Well, I sort of am now, but I wasn't then.
Like
I
many
trusted
of
the
us.
government in their research. I trusted the government in their lab tests and whatever they were feeding us. I've trusted them to look after me. Financially, I couldn't stay at home because I'm young. I financially not stable enough to
Yeah.
go on Centrelink. So the decision was made
They coerced a lot of
to
people.
go and get myself vaccinated, like everyone else that wanted to continue employment in New South Wales. I had 2 vaccinations of Pfizer at Newtown Hospital. So I had my first shot around June, and then 6 weeks later I had my second shot of Pfizer as well at Newtown Hospital. The first shot, like I said in my last interview, it drove me like really bad. I lost my balance within 6 hours, I believe it was. I couldn't walk straight. If you gave me a sobriety test like in the United States, I would have failed. I lost my voice after 3-4 days, 5 days. A little bit sick, but that was the side effects I was told to expect. The second shot this is where I fell in a bit of trouble. 19 days after my second shot, I had my first heart attack. It was the 27th, I believe. I did not go into hospital. It was a Wednesday. Wednesday or Thursday, anyways. I did not go into hospital because I didn't know what a heart attack felt like. What happened was it was raining that day, so we had a day off. And I picked up 2 sets of dumbbells.
Healthy.
Like I said to you, I used to go to the gym and ride pushbacks and walk. And I picked up two dumbbells, 1, 2, 3, put them down. And the chest, the pain, the crippling pain that I had was like immense, unbelievable. It was so big that I had to lay down, which I did. I laid down, I looked at the news. It was overcast, raining in the morning, and I thought, what a bad day to die. And this is exactly what I thought. And I got up, because when you have a heart attack, it tells you one of the symptoms, you feel doomed. And that's what I felt like. I felt like doomed. And I got up, and by getting up, that made me throw up outside. And so I called my cousin. I said, listen, mate, we had a walk that was booked between me and him for 12 kilometers, I think it was. And I said, listen, I think I just had a heart attack, mate, but I'll come down and explain to you what happened, and let's go for a walk still, So during the walk, I was uncomfortable again. The pain came back, not as much, but it came back. And I remember my cousin, who was my boss as well, said to me, listen, like, what's going on? How are you feeling? What happened? And the pain was so severe. I said, please don't talk to me right now. You know what I mean? So I brushed him off. Went back home. I was really under the weather. I was sweating a lot. Didn't feel myself. Sore arm, shooting pain. I made a phone call to the Heart Institute, I believe it was, on the 26th or 27th. The reason I rang them is to find out what a heart attack feels like, because I've never had one. So I left a message. They never called me back. During the night, I woke up, I think it was 12, 1, 3, 4, every 2-3 hours with chest pains. What the doctor was trying to tell me is I was having minor heart attacks during the whole night as well. And yeah, I got dressed just like I am now in the morning, 27th or 28th, and sat in my car. 5 minutes into me driving, I got a massive heart attack again. I didn't ring the ambulance. I rang up the nurse from St. George Hospital.
I'm so glad he hasn't
And I
died. My
explained to
goodness.
her my symptoms. And I said, look, shooting pain, can't breathe right now. In fact, I couldn't talk. Like, I just stopped talking. She told me to please turn my car off and to tell me my location to her, and that she thought I was having a heart attack. Not to drive, and if it was okay for her to call the ambulance. And I said, yeah, sure, no problem. Called the ambulance, and I called my boss, because abseiling, it takes two. To abseil, it's illegal for one person to do it. So it was only me and him on that job in Newtown. So I called him up and I said, listen, mate, they told me to turn the car off. Like, it's the same symptoms from yesterday, and they called the ambulance for me. So he arrived before the ambulance came. And back then the coronavirus was like, everyone was scared, everyone was wearing masks. So ambulance came, my boss came, ambulance came, they told me to put a mask on. I did, left my car at the service station. And yeah, they hooked me up to a lot of machines, and on the way to the hospital, they said, no, mate, everything looks fine. The vital signs are fine. Like, I don't think you're having a heart attack. Okay. I was happy, called my boss, said, mate, I'll see you in a couple of hours. As soon as they discharge me, I'll get in my car and I'll meet you down there. As soon as I got to emergency, I saw a nurse, RM, she's allowed to give medication. And she looked at me once and she goes, he's having a heart attack, put him on blood thinners. Now, I don't know whether she spoke to the doctor to put me on blood thinners, but her saying that, another nurse put me on blood thinners, in liquid. And the blood test came back within 20 minutes, and I was leaking blood and protein inside my heart. That was the strong indication of a heart attack.
Sheesh.
I
Yeah.
was rushed to emergency, and they put a first.
Yeah, I can't watch the full thing because I watched it yesterday, and it just like I had cried like multiple times throughout the stories. Jab Injuries did a great job. That was very good editing and like really well put together. Great interview. Really good to hear that guy's story. Basically, Darius, that man in the interview, he said he ended up getting 5 stents put in because of his arteries were so blocked and damaged. He had multiple heart attacks. He still struggles with the pain because they couldn't put in more stents because it would cause the other stents to collapse in his heart. So they basically told him that he would have to live with the pain. And it was the really sad part was that he was told basically he wouldn't live very long. The doctors said that he had the heart after his injury, like the surgeons and the doctors told him like he has the heart of a 90-something-year-old man. And they would try their best to try to make him live to 60. So he wouldn't even, they think, they told him it's unlikely for him to live past 60. And it really weighed heavily on his mind. He talks about how at first it made him very depressed and suicidal, and how he, has already planned like his funeral, and that he thinks he'll pass away before his own mom passes away. And he's kind of like mentally prepared for that, which was just like devastating. This guy is so healthy and fit. And then later he even talks about how his doctors, because there was just so much evidence, like this guy was really fit. He was, walking like 12K with people beforehand. Didn't have any history of health issues and stuff like that. And, he just developed this a heart problem after, and like clearly was caused by the vaccine. His doctors said, it's too much of a coincidence. This was caused by it. So the doctors, in his case, which is good compared to some other vaccine injury cases, they actually, wrote the documents, wrote out the medical forms and stuff, submitted the report to the vaccine injury data system and a report, because they had to legally. They said, we have to do this. We have to report this. And the guy said he felt really disappointed when he mailed in all those forms, doctors, medical notes, hospital history, and hospital forms, his how it affected his work and ability to work, and caused him a lot of like financial problems because of the vaccine. You have to submit all these documents when you try to get compensation for the COVID vaccine injury scheme. And he sent all those documents. He said he weighed all those documents because he had to post them. It was almost 1 kilo of documentation. It was like 900 something grams. A kilo of paperwork. He has so much evidence, and his case got rejected. They just told him like that it wasn't caused, by the vaccine, that he wouldn't be covered. So he was really upset and felt super like, I think he felt quite betrayed by the government that, they would just leave people out like that to dry. The guy's been in hospital so many times. Like, I really encourage you guys to watch the full story. I'll link it in the description below, but it's just heartbreaking. Like, this poor guy, like, he had to actually move that apartment that he was filming in. He actually moved there to be closer to the hospital because he just kept having to go to the hospital, and he's still, getting heart pain, sharp pains in his chest, and just struggling with health issues, and his mortality like is on his mind a lot. He had to get pets to help with his mental health because it gave him a sense of like purpose and having to take care of something else. It was just so sad, and you can see how devastating that injury was to this guy's physical health, mental health, just his whole life trajectory, is changed forever. I I don't want to be too black-pilled. I personally think, there are some methods that can help vax injured people. If you go to, for example, Jab Injuries Australia's website and their Instagram page, they have stories where people have, tried different things and improved a little bit, but it's still quite difficult because everyone's different and everyone's body is different. But I think it's really difficult for vaccine injured people to have hope because they just get abandoned. Luckily this guy's doctors, took him seriously and actually reported the injury, unlike other stories. But for a lot of jab injured people, even their doctors try to gaslight them. They tell them they have anxiety. It's all in their head. They tell them to get psychiatric help. They're basically telling them they're crazy, even though they're having like physical symptoms right in front of you. It's kind of like the ambulance people, the way they treated Darius in his story, at least according to him, how they said, "Oh, he's fine. You're not having any problems." And it took a nurse at the hospital to just look at him to be like, "This guy's having a heart attack. Get him on blood thinners." So unfortunately, a lot of that stuff still happens in the way that vaccine injured people are treated. So I think we should, talk about them. These people are people, like they're not just numbers. You can't just leave them after what happened. So dumb. Okay. Let's have a bit of a meme. Let's look at some white pill moments because I get real upset about the COVID vaccine injuries. So let's look at something that's encouraging.
bunch of white nationalists push Christianity down your throat.
Christianity was in Africa before Europe.
Whoa, did you hear that?
The Ethiopian Bible is older than the King James.
And thank you. That's exactly right.
The argument that Christianity brought, that colonialism brought Christianity to Africa is completely wrong.
Christianity was in Africa before Europe. Everybody hear that?
And one thing you need to know is that Christianity is not a European religion.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. One more time. Real loud.
Christianity is not a European religion.
Man, you're awesome.
Based African man.
Bunch of white
Hell
nationalists
yeah.
push Christianity down your throat.
Christianity was in Africa before Europe.
Whoa, did you hear that?
The Ethiopian Bible is older than the
Oh, so
King
good.
James
And thank
Bible.
you. That's exactly right.
The argument that Christianity brought, that colonialism
good.
brought Christianity to Africa is completely wrong.
Christianity was in Africa before Europe. Everybody hear that?
And one thing you need to know is that Christianity is not a European religion.
Yeah, I love that clip because it's so true. Like, this guy is, it sounds by his accent, he sounds like he's actually African. And he knows his stuff, you know, like these white people on the college campus try to tell him like that Christianity is a white religion and that they're like forcing it down his throat or whatever. And he's like, nah, man. Like, if you think about it, where did Christ come from? It wasn't from Europe. Like, the apostles and stuff, they spread the gospel. It wasn't in Europe. That didn't, you know, get there until later on. So I think this was so awesome, and the silence in the crowd and the reactions of the people. This white guy in the background is laughing though. He knows what's up. I thought that was great. I really liked the speaker. So the guy in the dress shirt, who he's talking to and filming, he does like talks on college campuses. I've watched a lot of his videos a long time ago. I used to watch all of his college stuff because he was really good at like apologetics and engaging with the students on campus. Really like people like that. Him and Ray Comfort were really good. I try to remember what this guy's name was, but he has tons of videos on YouTube. Yeah, so I thought that was awesome. I really liked that clip. Okay, so the next story, I remember when I was doing apologetics and like walk up ministry on college campus at uni. I had some discussion with this white atheist guy, and it was so funny. He basically said that people who grow up in a Christian country, you know, inevitably are Christian. Like he thought that I grew up in Australia or something like that. We had only just met, so he didn't really know. And I told him, I'm like, well, that's not really true. I grew up in I was in a Muslim country for a little bit. I had my childhood there. I'm not a Muslim. I just thought it was funny, like these white liberals want to tell you like all these so-called facts about Christianity, and they're completely wrong. It's just hilarious. The reaction on their face afterwards, it's like a stunned silence. I find it hilarious. Okay, so the next clip that I wanted to show that was encouraging, this guy in the video is a movement like recovery coach, so he helps people with their rehab and physical movement, and I really liked his message because it can be applied to many areas in life.
Then maybe you could improve. If you could improve an inch, then maybe you could improve a mile.
Because if you can walk into the gym, then you can start working on the lowest fundamental of knees over toes training, which is walking backward. It's helped thousands of us get off painkillers for the knees by gradually getting more and more ability in this position. So every day I'm asked about different knee conditions. I had many knee conditions. For everyone I've heard of, I've seen huge long-term changes are possible, but never by giving medical advice. always by finding what ability you do have. You don't have a 0 of ability. If you have even a 0.1, then with just the concepts in this video, maybe you could get to a 0.2,
Yeah, that guy's ankles are
a 0.3. 5 years from now, you could function way better than right now, and I think that's pretty awesome when the norm is decay. If you could improve an inch, then maybe you could improve a mile. Because if you can walk into the gym, then you can start working on the lowest fundamental
You gotta start somewhere.
of knees over toes training.
Yeah, so a lot of his stuff is about knees over toes, like helping people with their mobility and stuff and rehabbing like their injuries. So his backwards walking thing is like one of his main exercises that he's known for. I just thought that was really helpful because it's so true. Like you got to start somewhere. It's small improvements, you know? You can't compare yourself to somebody else who's like a pro athlete and you're like, "Oh, I'm never going to get there." You're going to just feel overwhelmed. But if you just look at where you're starting from, it might be small, but you got to work on it, right? Small improvements, 15 minutes, half an hour every day, and you can get somewhere, you can have great improvements. And I really liked, that this guy is encouraging people to, get out there and try, things can improve. Don't just settle for a band-aid solution, for a pill, for a crutch, for a wheelchair. Like you can actually rehab your body. I personally I have bunions, mad bunions. This is getting very personal. And for years, all the doctors that I saw said there wasn't much that could be done. They tried to put my feet in like a nightly brace kind of thing, but it didn't really help. Then people suggested that I had to get surgery on both feet, and that was the only way. But the thing is, surgery, the bunion can still come back. And they didn't give me any other options, basically, and I really didn't want to get surgery. And then a few years later, when I was researching like exercise, rehab, and strengthening the feet and stuff, I found this great like group of people who do like barefoot training and barefoot exercises to help people with bunions and foot conditions and stuff like that. And it was so helpful because it was like, wow, you can actually improve your feet, like you can actually improve bunions. My bunions improved after I started doing those exercises. They're better than what they were. I'm trying to improve them even more still. But yeah, just the changing in the mentality and the daily, like slow progress. You chip away at it, like a little 15-minute investment. Think of it as a 15-minute investment in your health every day. If you can do more, like half an hour to an hour, even better. But start small, start with an achievable goal, for yourself if you haven't exercised in a long time, right? Yeah, so I really like that. I really like this coach pages and training pages on Instagram. They're really good. They're really helpful and like short exercise. Anyways, enough about my feet. This is not an OnlyFans stream. Okay. All right, let's end the show on a funny note. So I've got some memes here. Let me just find. Okay, I've got it. This girl was like crying because her Tinder dates said he was gonna take her dancing. And then this happened. God. I don't know if she's like laugh crying or if she's actually upset. Oh man, it's so funny. What a man. He's got his shirt off and everything. So good. So good. I love it. It's great. What a great Tinder date. Oh man. Okay. So the other meme that I wanted to show, yeah, here it is. It's there's a raccoon that got his ankles broken in a game of street ball.
Oh! Oh! Get his ass! Okay! Okay!
They're just taunting
Okay!
him.
Oh! 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 Oh, that nigga broken! Oh, he's having a seizure. You broke his ankles.
The commentary. The commentary.
Oh! 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 Get his ass! Okay! 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 Oh! 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 Oh, that nigga broken! Oh, he's having a seizure.
Oh my goodness, the poor
Broke his
raccoon.
ankles.
He's got freaking rabies and this dude just freaking did a layup on him. Crap. Okay, the next one that I like was this soccer game. I don't think it was a real soccer game. It was like either just an event or for lols.
Bosch could be the first booking of the game.
Wowzers, trousers.
Yellow card.
The Uno reverse.
He's Uno reversed it. That's a first. What does that mean? Kattenberg's on a yellow?
Fernberg's on a yellow. It's clever play. In
Bosch could be the first booking of the game.
Wowzers, trousers.
Uno reverse card. This dude just
Yellow
keeping
card.
it in his
The
pants or
Uno
something.
reverse.
He's Uno reversed it. That's a first.
This guy kept this Uno reverse card in his pants the whole game or something, man. What the? Oh man, that was so good. All right, so that was like all the memes I've got for today. I didn't want the show to be too long, because I thought I was like, oh, maybe we'll watch Darius clip, the vaccine injury one, for a little bit longer, but it's so sad. I get so black-pilled and down after watching it, and it makes me tear up. But I hope that the memes kind of like helped you guys not feel so black-pilled. I like that at the end of Darius's video. Go watch his interview. He was like, I trusted the government and I regret it. No, like, you guys shouldn't trust the government. It was so based. I was like, this guy. Ah, so true. And so I feel him, man. I feel him. Okay, so we don't have any super chats. That's okay. Next time we're gonna try and stream on Rumble. I'm trying to see if we can stream on both, but I don't know if my internet can take it, and I need to get a program that can do both. That isn't like super expensive. Because I'm broke. Alright. Thanks for watching the show, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you had a laugh. We had a few funny stories. Especially the Jacinda Ardern one. Next time, I will try to talk about the Australian housing crisis. But I don't know. I don't know if there will be a stream next week because I'll be going overseas, like pretty much the day after. I'll try my best to stream the day before my flight, but I'll be away for a bit more than 3 weeks, so most of October. I'll try to see if I can get some clips out and just schedule some clips out or record something while I'm over there and just post it. It probably won't be a live stream. But yeah, I will be taking a break from just life and enjoying my trip. So I hope you guys have a good October if I don't see you next week. Yeah, thanks for watching. Bye.